So
Yeah,
let's get into the stories. I definitely want to get this out of the way. So let's talk about Kobe Bryant.
yeah. Uh, this was, kind of a shock because I was,
Right?
my mom was the one that texted me. It's like, hey, you hear that Kobe Bryant died? It's like, no, I had not heard that. I was like, what? It's like, yeah, there was, I guess, a helicopter crash, and I was like, yeah, it's just like, but it's like you almost like it's not that like my mom would be lying to me, but it's like you almost had like I gotta check and see if this is real, and it's just like, oh man, yeah, it was, and you see the footage of the wreck, and just a tragedy. I mean, obviously, like he's retired from basketball, but and we it's funny we were talking about we've been last couple of weeks we've been talking about Kobe and like how we're a little bit torn as Laker fans because now we have LeBron James who is I finally after all these years I had to give it. LeBron James is a great basketball player as much as I hate to admit it. Um, but like the reason I don't like LeBron, but it's like he's on my team, so I kind of like begrudgingly root for him.
Right.
And it's like, but when because he's kind of a jerk. But then you have Kobe, who is like, we love Kobe. It's like he's a jerk too. He was a jerk when he played,
Mhm.
and didn't have. I would say like his personal life. I don't know after I don't know if things have changed in his life, but when he was especially when his early in his playing career, his personal life was sketchy at best. And
Mhm.
but yeah, that doesn't take for me. I was more focused on his on court performance, which was magical. I mean, it
Mhm.
was
Right. It was
it's
impeccable. His performance was impeccable.
but it's like Kobe. He was our jerk. We and so
Yeah.
a lot of people like who are fans of other teams. Like I know I've had fans who are friends who are fans of the Spurs, and they like the Bulls and the Pistons, and they fucking hated Kobe. It was like, well, you know what, my player is better than yours, so
Right.
you
Yeah.
know
Like, my guy's better than your entire team. Um,
that's well, especially against the Toronto Raptors when he scored 81 points, he definitely
yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Because I mean that he had a cast of nobodies, and Kobe's like, yeah, it's just pass it to Kobe. It's just
Yeah, it's just a little uncanny, just the synchronicity of it all. Like, we were, the last stream we just talked about Kobe. Well, kind of secondarily because we were more bitching about LeBron.
yeah,
Um, but we're just, doing a little comparison, compare and contrast, because yeah, LeBron is, LeBron is a, world class douche, and but Kobe, his personal life or whatever. I mean, it's his personal life and everything, but some of the but he was a jerk too. So but we grew up with that jerk, so he's our jerk. So yes, we are a little bit more nostalgic for him, and but I'll admit, now that I'm older, I'm able to um, as it kind of separate the nostalgic part of me and like recognize that, hey, this guy was just as flawed as anybody else, but he did but he did amazing things. He was capable of amazing things, physical acts. Um, and
there.
so
Yeah, and I think what I always respected about him though is that drive to win. It's like listen, and a lot of it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because it's he felt like he was different from a lot of the other players who are they're all about like the fame and the fortune and like oh, we got to have the entourage, and he was kind of like the obviously there was the stuff with between him and Shaq, Shaq is kind of more of the, loosey goosey, like, it's all about having fun and a good
Hmm.
time, and then he would turn it on court. But Kobe's like, no, we need, it's like he was like, my only goal is we gotta win, and I'm gonna outwork everybody, and I'm gonna find every way to make this team better, and it drove a lot of people nuts. And there's a lot of people, in various different sports that are the kind of the same way. And it's like and a lot of those, players or coaches are just, they're misunderstood, but there's a special spark, in, some of these players. It's like, god damn, like you can't you can't deny the greatness. Kobe was like that in basketball. You had, in football, you have, Peyton Manning and, Tom Brady, or,
Hmm.
you could even say Bill Belichick is kind of a Kobe-esque in that way. He's an asshole, but man, you can't deny the brilliant mind of Bill Belichick. Um,
Hmm.
in
Right.
NASCAR, you have Dale Earnhardt, who's, obviously he joked around a little bit, but like his main goal is like, to the detriment sometimes of his own family. His desire was to win championships and to win, right, the big races, and be a kind of the defining star of NASCAR. And you find it in all these different sports, and they get misunderstood by their peers, but maybe they don't all lead the best personal lives, but there is something admirable about people who, that go out, and it's like their only desire is to be better, to improve, and to win.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I just remember that morning. When you texted me, it's like, well, first it was a little bit misleading because you said Kobe Bryant was killed, so I thought like someone like murked his ass. Um, but then when I looked it up for myself, it's like, oh, he died in a helicopter crash. Um, and it did hit me hard, or it did affect me. Um, I would, I admit that it affected me more than I thought it was going to. Um, because I don't really consider myself a sports guy. Um, I'm very much a spectator, and but I do love basketball. And I grew up under the time when it was like Kobe, Shaq, Robert Ory, Derek Fisher,
Oh yeah,
Paul Gasol eventually, um, and on and on and on. And so when I heard that, it was just like a little bit like no, stop trying, stop messing around with me. It's like, oh, you just mean that, you just mean, it's like, oh, like, people are, mistaken, or people are misreporting. It's like, oh, it's just this helicopter went down, but he didn't, he wasn't in it, right? But then more, after time went on, more and more information started coming out, and it was just like, damn, and then like, the revelation that his daughter was with him at the time, that just made it even more tragic.
yeah. And then the people that were with him, the other coach that was, that, and his family that was on board, he actually, did a lot for, the baseball community, at least amateur baseball.
Right.
He helped out with a lot of the, like the Cape Cod League, which is where a lot of collegiate players go during the, I think it's like the first part of like spring or early summer. And a lot of, the great players that are in the game or have been in the game, they get invited to this Cape Cod League. Like, you have like Aaron Judge, uh, and a lot of, players of like his caliber that were in this league, um, that this guy, helped their careers, early on. And he meant a lot to a lot of people in baseball. And it's kind of sad that, I mean, obviously it does get overshadowed, because Kobe Bryant was such a huge personality in the sports world. But like was it John? I kind of mispronounced his last name, like Ottobelli, I think is his last name.
Hmm.
And but he's also like a huge impact, that's at least in the baseball community. That's a huge impact too. And it's kind of a shame that him and his family are gone as well, and you have the pilot that's uh, that is dead too, and it kind of reminded me a lot of these some of the in the NASCAR community. There's been a lot of these aviation crashes that have taken some drivers and people in their prime. Infamously in 1993, there was a plane crash that killed the defending series champion Alan Kulwicki on the way to a race. You had later that year, Davey Allison at the height of his career was in a helicopter crash and died. And in '04, it was the Hendrick Motorsports team plane crash, killing Rick Hendrick's son and a lot of his twin brother and his family, the engine builder, and a lot of high up executives in Hendrick Motorsports, and that was a huge hit in the sports world, and it just but yeah, it's just huge, very very sad.
Right. I think one of the other things that was so kind of made you kind of like not believe this happens, because I think um, when you usually hear about celebrities and especially involving aircraft, it's usually like singers or entertainers. Um, you have like your Richie Valens and Buddy Holly and John Denver, and it's you kind of expecting more from that realm of
Right.
celebrity. So to hear about it from Kobe, no less, or like a sports entertainer, it just kind of hit, it just kind of like makes you, it kind of gives you that sense of like, whoa, wait a minute, are you sure about this?
Yeah, and it's especially for someone like Kobe Bryant, who was, he was a uh, he was Los Angeles essentially. For especially for our city,
Mm-hmm.
it's man, it hits hard, and it kind of obviously I'm not as super of a basketball fan as some other people have, and um, so Kobe didn't necessarily. Yeah, obviously I love Kobe, um, but it does kind of remind me a lot. I go back to 2001 when Dale Earnhardt was killed in Daytona,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just obviously Kobe was his career had been over for a few years, but super that kind of that same superstar level where it's like Superman can't die. Like what? Yeah,
Right,
it's like
yeah,
what? Yeah, where?
yeah, that's what
And
it
it's
was.
just
That's
your
what it was like. It was a bit, when the news came out that that he had died. It's like Superman can't die. And
right,
then
and it's just
at least that
it's
was the
your
attitude. I mean, we obviously know that he's not Superman, but it's like the
right. Yeah,
idea of
but
Kobe was like so grand and legendary, that's like no way that he'd go out like that. There's no way he'd go out like that.
and it's like I don't have the same tears as I did back in 2001 with Earnhardt, but
Mm-hmm.
I understand the fog and just kind of the what people are going through. It's just like it's rough,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, obviously you might not have known him, you're not like, oh man, Kobe's my boy, I'm, and
Yeah, best
he's my best friend.
friends. They were in the
Yeah,
same book club together.
yeah, yeah, we have tea and crumpets every Sunday. It's it's not like that, but it's still it's one of those things where that you grew up watching this guy, kind of, lead your team and through all the ups and downs, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
man, you go to Lakers games, and it's like you go to watch Kobe Bryant. I'd watch races every Sunday, because like Dale Earnhardt's on, and something exciting could happen, and just you love the determination, the never give up attitude, um, and just the otherworldly things that these guys can do. And when they're gone, it's like, what? Like this, I don't know what to do.
Mm. Yeah, it's it's kind of in a lot of ways, his trajectory is almost similar to that of you know, like folklore heroes. Like
Yeah,
I'm particularly thinking of like John Henry. Um, because I don't know if you guys are familiar, but John Henry was um, this guy who was supposed to be the strongest man ever, and he worked the crews, laying down the railway lines, and one the story goes that technology comes in, and they bring in like the steam powered shovel that could do the work of 50 men, and so there was a bit a competition was set up, and it was John Henry versus the steam shovel, and whoever was able to dig their way through this mountain to create a tunnel was the winner. Um, And of course, they went off, and then the steam shovel was going, doing the work of 50 men, and John Henry was going just by himself, but by himself with the chisel and the hammer, and he was keeping pace with the steam shovel, and ultimately, John Henry prevails, and he makes it through the mountain. He makes it to the mountain first before the steam shovel, but ultimately, the feat was so taxing to his heart that he collapses and dies.
yeah,
Um,
Jesus.
yeah, I mean, kind of a downer, but it's just it's almost the fate of all legendary figures to kind of meet their end early.
Yeah, it's I mean, obviously it's he didn't die, but like, Bo Jackson kind of has that a little bit with, had he not had that hip injury, we don't know, but like all
Right.
the legends and the folklore behind, Bo Jackson, it's he was a marvel to watch. And it's like,
Mm.
and we just don't know like how great or, maybe mediocre he would have been, but like it's kind of like it, you can kind of always go back and it's like and think, man, what if?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. I mean, for Bo Jackson, it was like a death of a different sort.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, like I'm not always talking about like the physical death, but sometimes it's a more metaphorical death. In the case of Bo Jackson, because Bo Jackson was amazing.
that
There's
guy. Oh man, he's so insane.
yeah, and I mean, because he came up when I was still like really a kid, and my dad wasn't really into sports. My cousins were sort of into sports, and because I didn't have any I didn't have any older brothers. I didn't have any old male figures in my immediate family, other than my father. Sports wasn't really a big thing. So, but because I had friends, and I'd be over their houses, and like we'd watch games, and it's like, oh wow, Bo Jackson's incredible. So that was like my really only exposure. I mean, of course, when I got a little bit older, like, of course, I clung on to Jordan and things like that.
Yeah,
But, yeah, Kobe was like, my like guy that I like followed. You know, so yeah, so he definitely had a special place. In my childhood, and in my heart, and so on and so forth.
but yeah, it's it's a sad thing to see Kobe go. Um, it's one of those things that it'll take time for a lot of those wounds to heal, and the well, I think this year with the induction ceremony at for the Basketball Hall of Fame, I think Kobe was supposed to be, I don't know if he was going to be nominated in or inducted in, but it's like um, it's going to be weird not having him there because obviously he's a Hall of Famer. It's
Yeah, of course,
no
of
doubt about
course.
it. But yeah, that's gonna be really weird. And maybe that'll be a place where a lot of people, they'll tune in, and it's where you can kind of go and heal a little bit. Just kind of reliving all the old Kobe stories through the people who did know him best, and it's just kind of like I go back to 2001, and there were so many like moments in NASCAR that year that just it helped the sport heal a little bit. Yeah, there was back in, I think it was like the fourth race of the season, Dale Earnhardt's replacement, Kevin Harvick, who has become a fantastic driver in his own right, but he won in a photo finish like Earnhardt did in that same race the year previously, and it was just I mean, I was in tears watching that race, just thinking like, wow. Just a wild race. And then back when they went back to Daytona in July, Dale Earnhardt's son ended up winning the race, and it was a way for another way for the sport to heal, and another kind of one of those moments where you're in tears, and I'm kind of hoping maybe that obviously we don't get to see maybe any real moments on the court per se, but I think maybe being able to relive a lot of those Kobe stories, through the, Hall of Fame stuff, and, be a way for people to heal. And, it's gave me a reason to rewatch a lot of the Kobe's greatest hits, the highlights. Just, man, that 81 point game, that was something special, man.
Yeah.
The other one I had totally forgotten about was where I forget who the player was, or like what team or what player did this, but they were trying to psych out Kobe, and he
Oh
like
yeah,
kind of
I was just about to bring that up.
yeah, where he like kind of shoves the ball in Kobe's face, doesn't even flinch.
Yeah, like the guy pretends like he's throwing the ball at his face, and Toby's just like standing there like, okay,
What?
now what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. And just like, and all the time, like, I forget. Yeah, again, it might have been multiplayer, but like every time, like he took a shot, and like the players like literally had their hands in his face while he was like putting up a shot, and like not having that phase him at all was
Oh, and
the
he would have this great thing like where he'd have two or three guys on him, he'd like shove into them and then kind of shove off of them and do that
right,
like
dude, like kind of
fadeaway
like
jumper.
kind of a shallow fadeaway. But yeah,
And
but then
he
like they
hit
would
it.
still like try to like psych him out and like get like the hand in his face, but he was like unfazed, and he would
Yeah.
sink and then he would sink it in. It's like
And I think that's unfortunately that was also part of towards the end he got those injuries because he was so physical. A lot of people don't realize he was he was more physical than Jordan was in a lot of ways.
yeah,
And I think that, and he played through so many injuries. There was the way that he shot, because I think it was like his two fingers were like just fucked up.
right.
He
No,
had like nerve damage in them, and so he
right. It
like
was he had the what was it? There was a report that came out that he had the hands of like an 80-year-old by
yeah,
the time he was finished.
right. And the thing is, like on his shooting hand, like his two of his fingers were like, I mean, nerve damaged like really badly. But
Mm-hmm.
and he could have gotten, he dealt with it for years. But like, had he gotten the surgery, he's like, well, I'm gonna miss, 3/4 of the season, and it's like that's not acceptable. And
Mm-hmm.
so he just played through it, and it's like, fuck, dude, like, it's like get the surgery.
Yeah,
It's
for the love
I'd
of
rather have
God.
you. But man, it was just he was such a marvel to watch, and obviously people bitch about him being compared to MJ,
Mm-hmm.
um, but and there is only one Michael Jordan, but
Mm-hmm.
damn if Kobe didn't come pretty damn close.
Yeah, he was like
He
yeah,
was our
he was nipping at the heels. He was definitely nipping at the heels. I mean, as
he
much
was
as he
our
was in the
generation.
shadows, like Kobe was like right there, right, just nipping at his like just right there. That's how I think in terms of accomplishment. I think that's how close Kobe was to Jordan.
Right. And it was, I remember even too, like, early on in his career, that it was like the All-Star game, which is kind of like, who the fuck cares about the All-Star game?
Yeah,
But
it's just like yeah, it's just like a
Kobe,
bunch of them
but
good.
Kobe
It's like
was
it's like your dream pick for like when you played like NBA Jam or whatever.
right. And then you have, but Kobe, it was like, oh, Jordan's in this game. I'm gonna show him up, and like he was dogging Jordan. I mean, Jordan,
Oh, that's
is kind
right.
of,
Oh yeah, that one year that they actually did the All Star game together.
yeah. It was like, I think it was his rookie year in '96. It was
Yeah.
like '96 or '97. It was, so it was right at the um, Jordan's hype, and so it's like, oh, Jordan's in this game, I got to prove something, and I mean that's who thinks like that? It's like, oh, it wasn't like, oh, cool, I made the All Star team. It's like, no, Jordan's in this game.
Yeah.
I gotta show up and show him.
Yeah, I gotta
I
show him
gotta
up. I gotta show what I gotta show the old man what I'm made of.
exactly,
Yeah, it's
and
one of those
that's.
moments.
But yeah, it'll be go and watch your Kobe highlights, and kind of go back to what we remember, and especially if you go to the some of the older early Kobe, you get a little bit of Chick Hearn too, so you can't go
Oh
wrong there.
yeah. Oh man, Chick Hearn.